As Muslims mark the end of Ramadan, the plight of those trapped in Gaza is the main focus of attention. As Iranians celebrated the feast of Eid al-Fitr, the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, addressed crowds in Tehran and criticized Israeli aggression against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. It's a genocide committed by the Zionist regime. It's a catastrophe of history. Those who support the people responsible for these crimes must be condemned. The whole world, above all the Islamic world, must arm the Palestinians. Meanwhile, Hamas leader Khalid Mishal, speaking in Doha, said that Hamas had nothing to do with the kidnapping and murder of 3 Israeli teenagers that sparked the latest cycle of Israeli-Palestinian violence. He said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu jumped to conclusions in order to justify his aggression against the Palestinians.
Well, good morning from St. Petersburg. And it looks like he said that the Palestinians, he said, should be armed. So I guess we can look forward to Iran getting involved in this, which means there's a good possibility that the United States is going to get involved in this. This is I just wanted to see a little bit of the news. As you can see, Gaza is still burning. When I went to bed, they were bombing them, and we'll see how today goes. But, you know, Iran may get involved. Jordan may get involved. And this thing may escalate. I know, you know, a few years back, people had said that if World War III was going to break out, it would be because of the Middle East, what's going on in the Middle East. You know, World War II broke out because of what was happening in Europe. I think that with the mentality of the Middle East, there's nothing short of wiping them out. This is not going to be a place where peace is an option. This is not going to be a place where you win a war. We may be looking at some type of total annihilation of one side or the other, which could include the United States. Iran, many places have called for the destruction of the United States. They did the same with Israel, the destruction of Israel, not the peace with Israel, not learning to live with Israel. It's the destruction of Israel. And I believe that's why Netanyahu is fighting so hard. You know, this isn't going to work any other way. And children are going to die. And that's what they are trying to do, tug on the heartstrings of the world. And the world has to understand that this is not going to get better. It's going to get worse as long as people keep poking and people keep supporting war. Israel will fight to the end. Israel is not going to settle. And they are preparing. They have been prepared. And this is a result. They're talking about this being caused by the 3 teenagers. I don't believe this was caused by 3 teenagers being killed. 3 Jewish teenagers being killed. It may have sparked it, but this is definitely not the cause. This is deeply rooted. A lot of people in the world don't want the world to have Jews. If the Jews are eliminated, they won't call it a genocide. If the United States is eliminated, they won't call it a genocide. And I think that the Middle East, the leaders, the oligarchs, understand that if you poke the United States like you do Israel, you stand to have your country destroyed like Iraq. Afghanistan survived. Not intact, but it survived. Because I don't think there's any real infrastructure like a lot of places have. Cities, big cities. I think the countries with big cities and that have infrastructure and they're established aren't too excited about going to any kind of a war. But a country that, like the Gaza Strip, they have those 3, 4, 5-story buildings, no real infrastructure, don't seem to have a problem with going to war. And as a result, it's going to be destroyed. You could see it right there to the right. Maybe they're taller than 5 stories, but if them are the same buildings that we looked at, they didn't look much higher than 5 stories. So, I wonder, what do we got here? We got the news media setting up out here. Is that what's going on? Are these observers or? It's just, this is just the strangest war because we're able to watch it, like I said, like a basketball game, and pick sides and pick favorite players and, villains, and it's just, I don't know what we're becoming, but this is what we're becoming. They used to worry about video games, kids in video games, and what it was doing to the kids. And then we got drones, and the video games pretty much is what a drone is, how a drone operates. And now we watch war on the internet. I think television news may become a thing of the past here in the near future. The internet is taking over. Live stream is taking over. There's not going to be much need for a newscaster to get out there and tell us what's going on and tell us what we're looking at. Although they still come in handy, I think what the people want is to see and judge for themselves. They don't want to be told. We don't want to be told. I don't want to be told. As a matter of fact, I'm turning the news off a lot more often than I used to because I don't like to be told. I've gotten used to live stream and seeing for myself. But then I do go back to the news to look at for the things that I don't see, that I'm not able to see, that are in the news. Like who is Hamas? How did Hamas get to be? A lot of people on the internet are saying that Israel actually created Hamas. So I looked it up, and it turns out that what they're saying is, the way that I figured it is that it's kind of like If you have a sore, for example, say you cut yourself, and you don't take care of it, but not only do you not take care of it, you abuse it. And let's say it's on your finger, and instead of, wrapping it up, putting medicine on it, taking care of it, keeping it clean, you work with dirt and stuff that could cause that cut to get infected. Well, in a sense, you created the infection by not taking care of it right away. And that's what happened here. Israel didn't put Hamas in place. Israel didn't take care of it and stop it from getting infected. So you get the pro-Palestinians, the pro-Hamas, and they take something like that and they twist it. They just twist it a little bit, and they say Israel actually created Hamas. And then you think, well, the United States created Saddam Hussein and a lot of other leaders around the world. But then to me it goes back to the infection. What happens is that with Saddam Hussein did used to be on the same side as the United States. When Iraq was fighting Iran, the United States supported Iraq and its leaders. And then when Iraq got a foothold and said, okay, pretty much like what Egypt did with Morsi, and Iraq did it too. When it was time to go, President Obama told them, okay, well, we'll stay, but under these conditions. And they said no. If they did the same thing in Afghanistan, we'll stay, but under these conditions. And they said no. So we left, and the country went to war with itself right away. Didn't waste any time fighting over that oil. Now a lot of people are trying to say that there's something in Gaza that the Jews want. I don't know what's in Gaza that anybody could want. Maybe natural gas? I don't know. But I don't see anything being developed in the areas that the Jews take over. To me, it looks like they are just building this great big old buffer zone so that those rockets can't hit Israel. If Iran starts to support Hamas, then there will be no Gaza. There'll be the West Bank. And if the West Bank starts up, there won't be any West Bank. So the people of Palestine, the people of Gaza, the people of the West Bank have to decide. And they have to understand that putting your baby on camera isn't working. Sacrificing your family isn't working. And they also have to understand that Israel may stop bombing, but it will never trust the people of Gaza. There will always be this tension for generations to come. And like I said the other day, we have that here in the United States. We have black people and Indians and a lot of different groups that were oppressed. I mean, really oppressed a long time ago that haven't forgotten and still bring it up, and still to today are oppressed in certain ways by white people. And this is basically a war between dark people and light people. The Israelis are basically what you would call white. And the Palestinians are basically what you would call black. A dark-skinned people, people of color. And that's what it looks like to me. It looks like a race war to me. Of course, it's you can throw in religion if you want to. But then, when you do that, you have to add in the Christians. And that ain't exactly what this area wants to do. Of course, worldwide, I believe there's more Muslims than Christians worldwide. But that's, you count China, and you can go to different parts of the world that, I don't think I don't know, but I'll probably learn today, the difference between Islam and being a Muslim. I'm not really clear on that, but I will be today. I'll do a little bit of Googling. I just got up, waiting for my coffee, and watching Gaza burn. And that's reality. People say that's cold-hearted, but yesterday I was looking at Denver, and what a difference. I was watching a tornado in Denver. Thank you. I was watching a tornado in Denver yesterday, and looking at how beautiful the Denver area is. At the same time, on another screen, I was watching Gaza being bombed. That's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. And if you live in Gaza, you may think that's the way the world is. And that's why these kind of wars go on and on and on, because nobody ever broadens their horizon. The people in Israel are world travelers. They come from all over the world to live in Israel. And there's Christians and Muslims, Americans, Chinese, Japanese, you name it, they're in Israel. But when you come to Gaza, it's a little bit different. Again, it's like a reservation. It's one kind of thinking, one kind of people. There's Christians and there's Jews in Gaza. But they think the way the Islamic people think. Gaza should have went to war with itself a long time ago. That's what Gaza should have done. The West Bank should go to war with itself while it can. Otherwise, this is the West Bank's future. They were protesting in the West Bank the other day. And as countries like Iran that hate the United States, that hate Israel, get involved, countries like Jordan get involved, even if it's just talking. I'm sure that they're sneaking weapons into Gaza. But you've got to go through Israel or Egypt to get to Gaza. And that's what those tunnels were about. They weren't about getting medicine. They weren't about getting food and supplies. They were about getting weapons. And now Iran is calling to arm Hamas. Well, Iran is able to act like a tough guy as long as Russia. I don't know how involved China is in Iran, But as long as it has them two countries, or at least one of them countries, backing them, they can act pretty tough. But the reality is Iran, like Hamas, stands alone. There's not a bunch of people following Iran around. Now, if all of these Arab nations would unite and work together, I don't think they'd be so interested in war. But to me, they just remind me of gangs, different gangs. And, they don't really have common goals. This is my gang, this is my territory, and we're going to do what we have to do to survive. And that's what it looks like they're doing. They're different gangs. Iran is a gang because they're not very big. I don't know how many of these countries you would have to put together to equal the same population as as the United States. Over 300 million people in the United States that don't give a shit if Gaza survives.
It's 7 o'clock.
Or not. They aren't going to work. They may talk a little bit, but they're not going to work worried if Gaza survives or not. And that ain't my imagination. Like I said yesterday, the Denver area, was under threat of a tornado. And they went live. There was a Channel 9 News went live. So I switched. I got the information from one of the live stream channels, which is always a good idea to come to my site and watch all of the live stream channels, irregardless of what somebody tells you. Come to our site. It's a very, very informative site. There's always somebody talking about something. And right in the middle of the Gaza war, one of the channels posted that Denver, Colorado was under tornado watch. Well, my ears perked up and I started Googling, and I happened to find a live camera shooting the tornado, which it's that little video is on our site now. And I recorded it and I kept it. And on another screen, I was watching Gaza being attacked. Well, the people in the Denver area didn't seem, well, you can't tell from the air, but, I live in the United States. I pretty much got a pulse on what's going on in the United States. And you could see that the people aren't worried about what happens in Gaza. Now, if Iran, for example, brought an army along the borders of Israel, through Jordan, for example, I'm going to bring up a map here pretty quick and have a look at how far Iran is from, and we have maps on our site too. Whatever it takes to keep informed, I try to get it on our site. We have pages where, there's the latest news, just the facts, and, we have a whole page and links about Gaza because I've been interested in Gaza lately. And we've even got a glossary of some of the words that get used, and then we have our chat boxing and scatter the chatter. But we do have maps. And on the maps, it has a button that you can see the weather in that area. And I don't know if I've got the Gaza map in the maps. If not, I'll have to get that in there. But no, I don't. I do have a map of Gaza. I'll have to have Gaza put in there on the Gaza page. And I've got Israel too. So I'm going to take a little look at Gaza I'm here on the map now, and kind of zoom it around and just see exactly what Israel has to deal with. Now, from what I could see, the Dead Sea, I mean, fresh water isn't something these people have abundance of. Here's a little lake. Well, it's probably not too little, but there's a lake in Ismailia. I guess that's how you say it. But from what I can see, Jordan and Lebanon, Israel is surrounded by Jordan, Lebanon. Let me see if I can get this a little smaller. And Egypt. Let me get this a little smaller. Okay. This is what Israel is dealing with. It is surrounded by Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Libya. These are just the countries that are bordering. It looks like Iraq does border. Maybe not. Iraq is bordering Jordan. It's kind of hard to tell. Let me see if I can get this a little bit bigger. Okay, Iraq borders Jordan, and Jordan borders Israel, and Egypt borders Israel, and Lebanon. Let's see if Lebanon does. Possibly Lebanon. I can't tell. Let me see if I can get this a little bit bigger. Okay, we've got Jordan, Lebanon, and Egypt, really. Looks like would be the countries that Israel has to worry about. And then in Jordan is bordered by Iraq. And let's take this down and see just where Iran is in this whole ball game. And Iran will have to go through Iraq and Jordan to get weapons to Gaza. So that's the problem that Israel has. And that's not an easy problem to have. And meanwhile, Gaza burns. So I'm going to open this up a little bit here. And I'm going to have some coffee and wake up. And again, Gaza is burning and the world is watching. I'll be right back.